Hi, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to cover Genie Agent Mode. Genie Agent Mode allows us to ask advanced questions, such as why did our sales dip, or which product should I be aware of in terms of low customer sentiment, as opposed to typical questions we would ask Genie, such as what were my total transactions last year. So let's create a Genie space so I can show you how that works. We're going to leverage the samples catalog and then all of the tables in the big house schema, just to give Genie as much context as possible. If you don't have this agent icon enabled, then you just need to work with your workspace admin to enable that for you. And then it's currently in beta, so you need to go through that process, and then you can now actually play around with agent mode. We have a couple of data sets here. Let's just ask some simple, more interesting questions. So first of all, let's say we just want to understand if there are any outliers in the transaction. So let's type that out quickly. Are there any outliers or anomalies that I should be aware of in the transactions data set? So what Genie Agent Mode is doing is, first of all, it looks at the context. So let me actually close this out. So it looks at all of the data sets that we have. It uses that as context to be able to answer the question that we just asked. And then it runs lots of hypotheses behind the scenes to actually be able to figure out what the answer to the question is, and to ensure that it's also very confident in its response. So what it does, it has a couple of questions that it thinks could be the answer, and then it runs lots of experiments to validate if those are true. And then we would actually see all of the different steps that it's going to take. So like I mentioned, this is beta, so this might actually take some time to come up with the answer. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and then we can review it a bit more and see what Genie did. So let's break it down. As you can see, Genie actually went through a couple of steps to first investigate the transactions data set, and then it runs a couple of queries to actually validate his thinking. So let's look at the first one. It looks at the overall transaction just to understand how it's distributed. It checks for nulls, checks for zero negative values, and then it goes into the second step. So it tries to investigate if there are any unusual patterns. So because I mentioned anomalies, it's just kind of exploring the data set. And it does all of these multiple steps to now finally come up with an answer. So let's see what it actually came up with. So it says there are several notable outliers and anomalies you should be aware of. This data is generally clean with no missing values or calculations. 2 franchises with extremely high bulk orders, as we can see those there, and then it gives us like a visual representation. And then secondly, 3 franchises selling only single items. So that's kind of strange in the data set, according to Genie. And then you have uniform pricing across all products, and some temporal patterns. So this particular data set actually ends on May 17th. So this is what I was expecting it to find out actually, but I wasn't aware of the other things, which is also interesting. May 17th is the last date, just because we stopped collecting data for this particular data set on that date. That's also an anomaly and something to be aware of. So that's cool. So you can see really detailed analysis and breaks down all of its reasoning. So we can actually see how it came up with the different visuals or results that it had. So it's not just hallucinating. Maybe we can even ask another question regarding the sentiment. Are there any products with particularly negative sentiments to be aware of? And what recommendations would you give to improve the sale and sentiment of these products? Okay, so as you can see here, there's actually a customer review table data set. So let's see what Genie comes up with. It's also going to look into this table, figure out which table to find that information from, first of all, and then starts doing his analysis on there. And then we can walk through the steps to see actually how Genie came with that. But just to summarize, this is a really powerful way of how Genie can help you to brainstorm on different questions you may have and help you to come up with solutions to those problems as potentially, and really speed up your development process to help you get to your insights faster. Let's check out what Genie thinks about this. Let's check it out. Genie was able to find out that products with negative sentiment and improvement recommendations, there are significant sentiment issues across all products, with Austin almond biscotti being the most problematic. 99% negative sentiment rate. So you can see that breakdown of the sense. So this is pretty bad. This is something we need to work on. And Genie has rightfully identified that this one is particularly critical. So people complain about this dry, crumbly texture, too sweet, too hard, etc. And then also provides nice recommendations as well. Reformulate immediately, increase the moisture, reduce sugar by 20 to 25%. That's actually pretty cool. And then for Golden Gate as well, it's too spicy, too bitter, and then also has some recommendations. So this is really powerful. And actually, one thing that's also useful, imagine if you have a business meeting and you want to actually discuss some of these insights, you can actually easily download them. So let's click that. And then you can actually just use that PDF or share this with your colleagues to go deeper and analyze some of these results. So that's Genie Agent Mode in a nutshell. I hope you find it useful. Please try it out. Give us your feedback. I'll leave some of the links in the chat so you can actually enable this in your workspace and try it out. Thanks, and see you in the next one.